Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 845. The bill would address at least some of the injury and injustice being inflicted upon my state and my constituents by the inappropriate and unfair enforcement of the Endangered Species Act as it has been applied in the reintroduction of the gray wolf. This injustice is apparent in the federal government's inability to manage and control the killing, the maiming, and the terrorizing of thousands of head of livestock across my district, across the rest of the United States, and in the failure of the government to properly pay for the cost of its decision to reintroduce the wolf. I will address the lack of management first. Let me begin my discussion of failed management by showing several pictures which are graphic illustrations of the lurking reality that many of my ranching families must deal with every single day. As you can see, there's nothing refined about how a wolf goes about feeding itself. You can only imagine the feelings of the rancher when he or she finds their livestock torn apart or dying. You can try to imagine the anger they feel knowing that they are legally prevented from stopping that wolf before it causes this pain and horror to their cattle and calves, and stopping these animals from doing, the wolves, this over and over again and again. I've held meeting after meeting across my district listening over and over to stories about wolves attacking herds, scattering to the four winds terrified cattle and calves, and ignoring the sad hazing efforts that we heard about earlier from across the aisle that livestock owners are reduced to using under the law to try to protect their livelihoods. The fury, the anger, the frustration, the fear of wolf that may at some point attack a child, which it came close to doing earlier last year while children in my district were waiting for a school bus, is totally understandable, and why we're on this floor sharing the reality of the wolf in America today. If we're to protect those who are trying their best to feed this country, to make a living, to keep their communities viable and safe, to put out range fires, to pay their taxes, and continue to be productive parts of this nation, we must manage the wolf, and this means we must delist the wolf and move management of these creatures back to the states. Remember, this is exactly what the Democrat, Obama and Biden administration, and Republican, Bush and Trump administrations have agreed needed to be done literally years ago. The wolf listed status continues only because of judicial fiat. Let me turn to the actual cost of reintroduction of the wolf and the need for those who have created this cost to be responsible for paying for it. University studies show that the annual cost of the wolf to the cattle business as of a few years ago is estimated to be $128 million. That's each year. This number far higher now that cattle prices are higher. Many think the only cost of the wolf is the killing of the livestock. But the impact of the primal fear and terror cattle understandably feel when a wolf is near has dramatic and serious impacts on weight gain and on pregnancy rates. These losses in production are real and they are serious. In a time when even the president is concerned about beef prices, these losses affect everyone by causing a reduction in the size of America's cattle herd and, of course, their productivity. In recognition of this damage caused by the wolf, laws have been enacted some in the Big Beautiful Bill and some at the state level to try to bring at least some ESA reimbursement equity into play by providing some payment to the owners for the death of cattle caused by wolves. But these programs come nowhere close to offsetting the very real loss. And I can assure you, the rancher would be absolutely happier if he or she could completely avoid these losses that lead to asking for justice under these programs. If we are to properly and fairly and logically manage the wolf, we must pass Congresswoman Boebert's and Tom Tiffany's bill, H.R. 845, the Pet and Livestock Protection Act. This bill would federally delist the wolf and allow states to actually manage wolf populations, not exterminate, manage. And if we are to properly allocate responsibility for the monetary cost of the wolf, that is, for the cost of the Endangered Species Act, America itself must pay for the consequences of this law, and this means Congress must manage the problem and then appropriate dollars to pay for it. Let's begin by passing this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.